Number 8. Keeping micro-promises. Someone asks you for a link. You say sure and send it that same day. No chasing, no awkward follow-ups required. Or maybe a friend says they're curious about that brunch spot you mentioned, so you find out and let them know what time it opens on weekends. This tiny habit is surprisingly powerful. Most people forget, flake, or intend to follow up and never do. But you treat the small things like they matter. The check-in, the intro, the quick, "I'll get that to you." Every micro-promise turns into a real commitment you actually keep. Psychologists call this behavioral consistency, and it creates what's known as micro-credibility. Each kept promise adds another deposit into an invisible trust account. Grand gestures and big talk might grab attention, but your reliable action builds lasting impressions, and the people around you notice. That link you sent was never just a link. It was proof that your word carries weight, and that reliability is rare enough to set you apart. In a world where most promises feel negotiable, yours becomes unforgettable. Number 7. Asking the obvious question. You're in a meeting. The presenter just explained a strategy that makes zero sense, but everyone else is acting like it's brilliant. They're all nodding politely, scribbling notes they'll never look at again. But you tilt your head and ask, why did you choose that approach instead of the obvious one? The energy shifts. It's not rude or confrontational, just direct. Most people hesitate to ask the obvious question. They worry about seeming difficult, breaking some unspoken rule, or revealing that they don't understand something everyone else apparently gets. So, they sit there, confused but compliant, hoping someone else will be brave enough to voice what's going on in their head. But when you do it, calmly and without judgment, people start trusting that you truly see what's happening. This behavior stems from what's called cognitive courage. Research shows that groups perform better when someone breaks the politeness barrier and points to the obvious problem everyone else avoids. You become the person who brings clarity, and in doing so, you create space for others to speak honestly too. They might flinch in the moment, but later, they realize you said what needed saying, and weirdly, they feel safer around you. Because you're the one willing to name what everyone else pretends isn't there, which means you'll probably notice when something's wrong with them too. Number 6. Giving credit before taking it. When you share a win at work, you don't launch into your own heroic story. You start with who helped. Not buried as an afterthought, but leading as the opening act. The friend who sparked the idea. The teammate who nailed the hard part. The mentor who asked the right question at the right moment. It's subtle, but it shifts everything. You shine the attention on others, standing out among the spotlight chasers and credit stealers around you. And that tells people something important about who you are. That you're not in this to prove anything or feed your ego. You're just real, steady, and unthreatened by sharing the stage. This is what's called secure attachment in professional settings. People with high emotional intelligence naturally share credit because their self-worth isn't tied to being the hero of every story. They understand that success is usually collaborative, even when only one person gets to present. Others feel safe collaborating with you because they know their contributions won't disappear into your success story. That generosity with recognition becomes your reputation. And that reputation creates opportunities ego never could. Because people want to work with others who make them look good, and your consistent credit sharing makes that choice obvious. Number 5. Defending those who are not present. You're in a casual conversation after a meeting. The mood is loose, people are venting, and someone starts taking quiet shots at a colleague who left early. Nothing vicious, just the usual gossip dressed up as concern. I mean, did you see how unprepared they were? Most people just laugh awkwardly. Or worse, they pile on with their own comments just to fit in. You say, "Let's not do this. They're not here to explain their side." One sentence, no drama, and no lecture. But it lands like a stone in still water, sending ripples through the whole conversation. Trust doesn't start when people are looking. It starts here, when you choose respect over gossip and integrity over inclusion in the inner circle. This embodies the concept of moral consistency. Your values don't change based on who's present or what's socially convenient. The person you defended might never know what you did, but everyone else, they'll remember. And next time they're not in the room, they'll feel safer knowing you are. That moment of standing up becomes a story they tell about you, about the kind of person you are behind someone's back. Number 4. Staying silent on purpose. Everyone's talking fast. The meeting has devolved into a verbal free-for-all, where people are jumping in and interrupting each other just to be heard. Ideas get cut off mid-sentence, as someone else rushes in with their next brilliant insight, but you stay silent. Waiting, listening, letting the chaos swirl while you process what's actually being said versus what people think they're saying. And when you finally do speak, it's short, calm, and clear. That pause makes people lean in. Silence, when held with confidence, magnifies your presence. You don't speak just to prove yourself or compete for attention. This restraint comes from understanding something most people miss. Words have more power when they're chosen carefully. Research in communication shows that people who speak less frequently are often perceived as more thoughtful and authoritative. The constant talkers exhaust their audience and dilute their impact. When you finally contribute, people actually listen because they know it'll be worth hearing. They've learned that when you do break your silence, it's because you have something valuable to add. That restraint signals strength, and strength commands respect in a way volume never will. Number 3. Choosing truth over ego. Someone asks you a direct question in front of other people. Maybe it's technical, maybe it's about industry trends, maybe it's just something you should probably know. But don't. The room goes quiet. Everyone's looking at you and waiting for your expert opinion. You don't fake it. You don't scramble for something that only sounds smart. And you don't deflect or change the subject. You simply say, "I'm not sure about that, but I'd like to find out." No nervous laughter, no apologetic tone, and no shrinking into yourself like you've committed some terrible social crime. Just honesty delivered with the same confidence you'd use to share something you do know. Most people are so afraid to seem unsure that they'd rather lie, guess, or speak confidently about things they barely understand. But you let the gap show. That transparency builds the kind of trust people value most. This confidence in uncertainty is known as intellectual humility. People remember the ones who can say, "I don't know," without shame, because it means when you do claim to know something, they can believe you without hesitation. It shows that honesty carries more weight than pretending to be flawless. Number 2. Celebrating others, specifically. Someone shares good news. Maybe they got a promotion, finished a big project, or hit a personal milestone they've been working toward for months. The usual response is a quick, "Congrats," or "That's awesome," before the conversation moves on. But you go further. You say, "That's incredible. I know how hard you worked for that, especially after what you were going through with the team changes last quarter. You kept pushing when most people would have given up." That kind of praise hits different. Not generic. Seen. You remembered their struggle, you noticed their persistence, and you connected their victory to their journey, instead of treating it like it appeared out of nowhere. This quality is called empathic accuracy, the ability to notice and remember details about others' experiences. It's a form of emotional intelligence that most people never develop because it requires genuine attention to others' lives. Generic praise could be for anyone. Specific recognition feels like it was written just for them. That's why people don't forget the ones who do it. Because in a world of surface-level chatter and distracted conversations, you offered something deeper. You saw their story, not just their success. And being seen is rare. Number 1. Setting boundaries without explaining. Someone asks something of you. An invite when you're exhausted. Extra work when you're stretched thin. A favor that comes at the worst possible time. The kind of ask where most people feel obligated to say yes. Instead of rushing to respond, there's a pause, a breath. A moment to consider what actually works. Then comes the simple line, "That doesn't work for me." No elaborate excuse, no apologetic explanation, and no softening language. Just a boundary, stated clearly. Most of us are trained to over-explain our limitations and apologize for having needs. We've been taught that boundaries require justification, that saying no always demands a defense. But when you stand still in your truth, something shifts. People stop pushing and start respecting. This behavior is identified as differentiation, the psychological ability to maintain your sense of self while staying connected to others. It's one of the strongest predictors of healthy relationships and professional success. When people know where you stand, they can trust your yes, because they've already seen your no. That clarity becomes your signature, and clarity, more than anything else, is what makes people want to follow your lead. In a world of maybes and mixed messages, you offer something rare, the certainty of exactly where you stand. And that's the foundation of all real respect. Because in the end, it's not about being impressive, it's about being real. We explain a lot around here. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.